Hello and welcome to AssessFirst webinar on emotional intelligence. I'm John Hughes, the International Account Manager for AssessFirst, the leaders in personal evaluations and predictive recruitment. Today's webinar is on the subject of emotional intelligence. Business interest in the concept of emotional intelligence as an important job skill has been growing significantly in recent years. In fact, the World Economic Forum's jobs report placed it in the top 10 job skills for 2020. What's more, in a 2011 Career Builder survey of more than 2,600 hiring managers and human resource professionals, 71% stated they valued emotional intelligence in an employee over IQ. 75% said they were more likely to promote a highly emotionally intelligent worker. And 59% claimed they'd pass up a candidate with a high EQ but low emotional intelligence. But what is emotional intelligence exactly? The first serious studies of it have been from the 1990s, particularly a 1990 research paper by two psychology professors, John D. Mayer of UNH and Peter Salovey of Yale. Mayer later defined emotional intelligence in the following way. From a scientific rather than a popular standpoint, emotional intelligence is the ability to accurately perceive your own and others' emotions, to understand the signals that emotions send about relationships, and to manage your own and others' emotions. It doesn't necessarily include the qualities like optimism, initiative, and self-confidence that some popular definitions ascribe to it. So emotional intelligence, as Mayer defined it, is actually the ability to understand your own and others' emotions and to be able to manage them. The idea, however, became much more popular after the Rutgers psychologist Daniel Goleman wrote a book called exactly that, Emotional Intelligence, in 1995. And he had this to say: the most effective leaders are all alike in one crucial way. They all have a high degree of what has come to be known as emotional intelligence. It's not that IQ and technical skills are irrelevant, they do matter, but they are entry-level requirements for executive positions. My research, along with other recent studies, clearly shows that emotional intelligence is the sine qua non of leadership. Without it, a person can have the best training in the world, an incisive, analytical mind, and an endless supply of smart ideas, but he still won't make a great leader. So Goleman then applied the concept of emotional intelligence to business in a HRB article in 1998, where he listed 5 traits which he considered essential for leadership roles. And this webinar is really about how to identify managerial and leadership roles, a theme that goes to the heart of what AssessFirst does. Not just to focus on social skills and intelligence, which are necessary but insufficient qualities for a leader alone. What is often left off the list are softer, more personal qualities, what people are beginning to understand more and more as essential to succeed as a manager or a leader. Although a certain degree of analytical and technical skill is a minimum requirement for success, studies indicate that emotional intelligence may be the key attribute that distinguishes outstanding performers from those who are merely adequate. So what we want to concentrate on is this idea that when we look at the population of our workforce or potential candidates, as we see here, we need to be looking at both their IQ and their EQ, their emotional quotient. So of course we want to find those candidates with good intelligence, decision-making, and analytical skills. But this needs to be married with a high EQ that will help that person understand what motivates others, build stronger bonds with colleagues in the workplace, and to be able to relate to them in a positive manner. EQ reduces procrastination and improves self-confidence. It also allows us to focus on achieving a goal. Not only that, A high EQ allows people to delay gratification and to strive to achieve long-term goals. So let's go into the details of what those 5 traits defined by Goleman are, how you can analyze them and identify them, and in what way they build on our working relationships and leadership roles. The first trait that Goleman proposed was self-awareness. We have identified 2 characteristic traits to look for in terms of what it means to be self-aware. If a person has self-awareness, they understand their own strengths and weaknesses and how well their actions affect others. This person needs to be able to accept criticism, to be receptive to remarks and feedback. We've also noticed they need to be open to other people's ideas, again, meaning that they seek to understand how and what others are thinking, and that they seek to incorporate other people's point of view, that they're able to understand how their decisions affect others. The second trait Goleman identified was self-regulation. Now here, we're looking for someone who demonstrates diplomacy, hand in hand with how they connect emotionally. A person with a high EQ can maturely reveal her emotions and exercise restraint when needed. Instead of pushing their feelings onto others without regard for them, they express them with restraint and control, as well as being able to make the other person feel valued. The third trait to look for is that person's motivation. Emotionally intelligent people are self-motivated. They're not motivated simply by money or title. They're usually resilient. Here, our main trait to study is someone who focuses on the positive, someone who is dynamic and optimistic when they encounter disappointment, and who is driven by inner ambition. Empathy. High emotional intelligence is also connected with the ability for people to understand what motivates others, build stronger bonds with colleagues in the workplace, and relate to them in a positive manner. This is about teamwork and building better relationships. And so we want to look at how someone connects emotionally. A person who has empathy, has compassion, and an understanding for human nature that allows him to connect with other people on an emotional level. The ability to empathize allows a person to provide great service and respond genuinely to other people's concerns. What's more, in an increasingly globalized workplace, people who have well-developed people skills can easily build relationships with a diverse range of people. Lastly, the fifth trait is someone's people skills, or what you could call social skills. Again, in terms of leadership and team building, people with a high EQ can build a rapport and trust quickly with others on their team. They avoid power struggles and backstabbing. They usually enjoy other people and have respect of others around them. Here we can look at both how someone demonstrates diplomacy and also someone who is good at consulting others before making decisions. A person with good social skills is able to take on board the opinion of others and use it to their advantage. So here you can see our predictive model of the characteristic traits we're looking for when talking about EQ. We're looking for someone who demonstrates diplomacy, connects emotionally, is open to other people's ideas, accepts criticism, consults others before making decisions, demonstrates inventiveness, perseveres when confronted with obstacles, goes beyond assigned tasks, and controls their own feelings. And let's relate this to how finding colleagues and new recruits with these traits will help your company. It's important to consider what a high EQ provides to your company. A leader is effective when they can recognize the needs of the people reporting to him or her. When their needs are met, people are motivated to perform better, which leads them to better workplace satisfaction. A leader with strong emotional intelligence can also develop stronger teams by using the emotional diversity of the members to benefit their entire organization. An organization that is most emotionally intelligent has employees who are productive, motivated, and efficient. They're committed to achieving their goals. They're also happy, confident, and likable. Team members are able to work together in the most effective manner and to provide better results for the organization as a whole. So emotional intelligence is as much to do with being able to lead as it is to do with being able to relate to your colleagues and to build better teams. So with AssessFirst platform, you can not only understand your candidate's personality, motivation, and reasoning, you can also create a predictive model, as the one that you see here, for you to be able to identify emotional intelligence within new candidates that are looking to work for your company or within existing people working for you. Now, as we've seen, this would probably be for managerial or high-end roles, but let me show you how our platform can help you easily identify those skills. So from this personality radar, you can create your own predictive model, which means that we would look for these specific characteristics taken from the idea of Goleman's 5 traits in order to identify candidates with a high level of emotional intelligence. And what's more, anyone who took AssessFirst's evaluation, you could take all of their details and they would come through to you with a ranking that would indicate how high their EQ is. You would be able to pick out and pre-screen candidates based on their EQ strength before you looked at their CV or anything or knew anything about them other than how their behavioral traits will affect their work. Secondly, if you wanted to take this model and look at existing teams, say you had a managerial position that you wanted to look to fill from your existing staff, you can also use our predictive model to identify people with a high EQ. A really good way to get to know your existing teams better and to understand their strengths. Within AssessFirst's toolkit of analysis, what are the soft skills that we look for beyond the personality radar I've just shown that means that you can identify people's emotional intelligence? AssessFirst offers recruiters our drive evaluation, which looks at the intrinsic needs of a candidate or colleague within the workplace. So drive will give you a sense of what that person wants to do, how they want to do it, where they want to do it, and why. Meaning, again, if you're looking to identify someone with a high EQ, within those 5 traits from Goleman that I spoke of, we're looking for someone who wants to excel every day. We're looking for someone who's not simply motivated by financial rewards. As I mentioned, someone with an emotional intelligence is focused on achieving a goal, and not only that, a long-term goal. So not just shape, but also within drive, you can identify candidates with a high sense of emotional intelligence through their motivations. Shape, our analysis of personality, assesses 20 characteristic traits. Already we've identified those necessary to be able to find people with a high EQ. It means we can properly understand how someone works with others, their leadership style, and empathy with others. Their natural working style concerning their creativity and their rigor, and their work-life balance. Again, it's been found that those people with a strong emotional intelligence tend to be people who are able to manage stress. They tend to have better developed coping mechanisms and a healthy support system that keep working effectively even in tough situations. And our shape test can show you not only what someone's natural working style is, but how that can change in a more difficult or stressful situation. AssessFirst solution is designed for you to be able to identify the talents of your present or future colleagues. Not only that, it's also designed to be empowering, meaning we try to give feedback for anyone who takes our evaluation to feel motivated, rewarded, and positive about. We offer 3 evaluations which study a candidate's soft skills: shape, drive, and brain, which looks at personality, motivation, and reasoning respectively. Now, as I have shown, both shape and drive can help us to understand someone's EQ very well. And I'm aware that there are tests that look at someone's EQ solely, such as BAR-ON. And for those who don't know, BAR-ON is a study that focuses on emotional and social skills within 5 factors, not too dissimilar to those that GOLEMAN outlined. However, we believe that it's important to look at these 3 factors, shape, drive, and brain, to fully understand how someone's IQ and EQ can be matched, to search for people who can really benefit your company. So let me go through some of the insights you get from shape, drive, and brain. Shape will give you a talent cloud here, which shows you the characteristic traits, the natural behavior of this candidate, and how they feel, and how they think, how they act, how they influence and cooperate. It will tell you what kind of relationship that person has working with others, their natural working style, and their emotional management. We'll give you those areas where that person is most marked, where that person is most effective, and also the areas where that person can improve. Drive will tell you what motivates someone and what demotivates that person. Drive will also tell you what kind of activities that person prefers to do each day. It'll tell you the kind of environment that that person wants to work in, the kind of management style that person's looking for, and the kind of culture they want to work in. Just to flip over the idea again of emotional intelligence, but if you wanted to become better at understanding your colleagues, better at becoming a manager, becoming more aware emotionally of what will fulfill your team, Drive is also a brilliant way for you to be able to understand the kind of activities, the kind of things that would motivate your team, that they prefer to do every day, the talents that they have in order to bring out the best side of your employees. And brain, based on reasoning, but it's not solely an IQ test. It's more of a test of mental agility or how someone thinks on their feet. And that will tell you the kind of complexity of information that someone can deal with. So their preferred work, whether that's simple, whether it's intermediate, whether it's complex, what kind of decision-making that person likes to make, and what kind of learning style that person has. We don't just empower your candidate, we empower your company. And that means that if you work with AssessFirst, you have access to all 3 of these evaluations. So reasoning, motivation, and personality are what AssessFirst considers to be the 3 pillars of soft skills. The main way that you can understand somebody's natural talent, their natural characteristics. So for reasoning, as I said, we have brain. For motivation, we have drive. And for personality, we have shape. All 3 together can give you a sense of your candidate's natural talents. We can tell you in detailed reports who that person is and how they will behave in the workplace. But we don't simply say just who that person is. We can also say who that person could be. And that's with our predictive model. Our predictive model takes the form of 3 different models. The main one is based on over 300 different job profiles that we've benchmarked into our platform. This is taken from over 5 million people that have done our evaluation, where we have mined the big data to pull out best practice. Meaning that if you have a candidate or a person who's taken the AssessFirst evaluation, you can go in and pull up any different job profile to see how well that person would succeed in that role. Secondly, we have personalized models where you can create your own criteria as to what you want to identify. So we saw the criteria earlier for identifying people to work for you with a high sense of emotional intelligence. You can create different personalized models where it's you who define what kind of criteria it is that you're measuring. And thirdly, we have what we call our talent review. And the talent review is when a company or when a large company says to AssessFirst, okay, this is our best practice. This is the culture we're looking for. These are the values that we'd like to define. These are the targets that we have. And AssessFirst would come in, ask your workforce to take the evaluation, and we would create personalized, tailor-made models for you based on the information that we have that's specific and relevant to your company. Within all our predictive models, and we saw before the emotional intelligence one, which had a scoring there in terms of how well marked those characteristics were within different people. We would say that the best practice is anybody who has a scoring from 60% or more has a good potential to succeed within that role, or in terms of a manager, in terms of someone who is emotionally aware in the workplace. We found that, as you can see here, from different studies that we've done with people working with us, that people who were employed who scored between 0% and 40%, 0.25 of them overperformed, but the vast majority were underperforming. People employed who got a scoring, a potential of between 40 and 60%, again, most of them were performing normally. The small minority overperformed, a small minority overperformed. But by far the best statistics for us is that people who are recruited with a scoring of 60 to 100%, 70.74 of them are overperforming. Don't just take it from me. Let's have a look at some of the companies that we work with. We work with a large department store in Paris, which is called BHV. And they found that after working with us, they increased their performance by 15%. They reduced their hiring cost by minus 20%. They reduced the time it took to recruit by using our pre-screening methods by minus 30%. And they reduced their turnover by 50%. We work with Burger King, who said of us, since we've been using AssessFirst, we cut the attrition rate by 50% on all our managerial positions. BHV again said, thanks to AssessFirst, we now recruit in under 30 days instead of 45. We reduced the attrition rate by 50% and increased our revenue by 11%. Carrefour, a large supermarket, said our partnership with AssessFirst helped us to create development plans for each and every employee in the company. Carrefour uses us actually in terms of their internal appraisal because, again, the detailed reports we can give about each collaborator gives you a good sense of their strengths, their weaknesses, the areas where they can improve, the natural talents that they have. We have over 3,500 customers in 30 different countries, and over 5 million people have taken our evaluation. We work with a large range of different companies, from Zara to Lidl, Century 21, Renault. We work with ING Bank, AXA Insurance. We also work with Hayes Recruitment, with Morgan Phillips, and with a large range of different universities who use us for understanding potential of new candidates. So, Thank you very much for taking part in the webinar today. If you want to email me or if you want to call, if you have any questions about the different issues that we've discussed in the webinar today, you're more than welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time. Bye-bye.